In this next tutorial, tutorial 2, we're going to go ahead and open up the character animation scene. So go ahead and go to the Scenes folder and double click on the tutorial 2 character animation. This is going to be basically a quick look at just making sure you have the control you need for your character animation. We're going to be calling up from a separate script. So if you notice inside of our hierarchy, the player inside of his inspector, we're going to be calling up from player controls. We're going to call up our animation sprite script that we made earlier, and then we'll just call it one of the animations up just so we can see it working. Alright, now when you're working on your own, like you've created your own sprite sheet, you may want to start kind of considering how you create it in terms of the lines, which ones you use, how many frames long are they going to be. Try to make some sense of it. You can use this one as an example, is that the character itself, if you notice, has quite a bit of animation all the way up and down through this. This is also a very large map. This is actually a 4096 map on the uncompressed side. For a finished one, you probably want to take it down to about a 1024. But the character itself, though, will have idles going to the right, to the left. Will have walks going to the right, to the left. The character has a run both ways. There's also a sprint if you want to place a sprint in. There's a crouch. You've got jumps, several different types of jumps. So this is just providing you a sheet that has a lot of different ones on it. We're going to start off by just simply calling this first row right through here, and we'll call it up. We'll start to use it. So getting started with on this one, let's go ahead and go over to our, as long as the character is selected, go ahead and go over to your inspector, and inside the player control script, you should see a script already there, the player control. You can either double click on this, or you can single click on it. It'll show you where it is inside of the inside your project file, and you can double click on this one. So either way, I'm just going to go from here. I'll double click on this to open it up. And once it opens up, looks like it opened up behind it here. There we go. When it opens up, what we have on this one is going to be the player controls. So again, this is just an empty file. What we want to do is start working on pulling up the animation sprite from the sprite sheet right here. So let's start off by just typing in our variable. We'll make everything inside the update function for the moment. We'll go ahead and just call this one animation play. And again, this is just going to equal a get component. And what's our current component called? It's the animation sprite. So we'll just do ANI sprite. So this is by calling this get component to here. This is going to access our animation sprite, which is inside of the character's inspector. It's part of the character's object. We're setting it to a variable type called animation play, which means that with it being called and set to that, we're going to be able to go in here and actually just call directly an animation frame from it. So we'll say animation play. We'll do animation sprite. We're calling up our function right now. Remember, our function call from here is animation sprite. So inside of here, we're calling animation sprite. Now, the methods for inside of here, the properties for here, arguments. We have size, the row, and all those. Be sure that you remember those. If you don't remember them from the last time we worked on it, make sure that you double check what they were. It's one of the reasons why it's good to have everything written out. Having this written out, I can just quickly read through this and remember what they are. So inside of player controls, the animation sprite, we'll go ahead and just call up, we'll actually call up the frame here. We'll do a 16, 16, 0, 1, 16, and 12. Alright, so that's going to be row, column. Let's see, we'll have our row and our column, our start column, start row, total frames, and then frames per second. So we're going to be calling one long line of the sheet to actually animate through. Now if we save this out, we can actually go over here and press play. When we play it, what we should notice is the character actually animating. So now we have the character animating to the left hand side. Alright, if we wanted to zoom in here, we could see it running through its sprite animation. And then again, just like when we had with our animation sprite, you'll notice the offset going through it, right through there. Alright, so this is going to be the basic control that we have and we use for our character. So as if, for instance, if we were going to do if we wanted to have inside of our script, say for instance, let's go ahead and pull up our animation player control again. If we wanted to have, there we go, if we wanted to have this set to a button push, then we could just say if input get, and we'll just do a get key for a moment. We could just say get key down. Now if we were to get a key down and we just said it was going to be the letter A, inside of this check, we could actually just say play this animation. So if we were to save this, let's make this a little bit prettier here. So if we were to save this and go back into here and play it, you'll notice that as the game is turned on, nothing actually happens. However, if I push A on my keyboard, it's actually going to turn it. Now, notice that every time I push A, it's just going to be going through the animation. If I wanted to actually have it so that when it goes through it, so for instance, if I want to have it so that it stays constant, I can just say get key A. When you get a key like this, it means that as long as that key is pressed, as long as this key is pressed, it's going to wind up running through that function. So with this one, if I play again, and this time when it goes through, if I just push and hold A, then it's going to actually just cycle through that whole animation sprite sheet for me. Alright, so animations for the character are going to be controlled like this. When we want the character to move left to the right, jumping, falling, getting hit, we're just simply going to call up, whether it's an if statement or a switch case statement, we're going to call up a statement, and then we're just going to assign it a piece of code similar to this. And that's going to basically keep track and control of all of our animations for us.